everyone. Welcome to AOL Build. This is Ethan Alter from Yahoo Entertainment. So, 25 years ago, the original Jurassic Park roared into theaters and made us believe dinosaurs could chow down on lawyers and porta potties. The franchise continues with Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which is already earning dino-sized grosses overseas and opens in the US next Friday, June 22nd. It's the sequel to the 2015 blockbuster Jurassic World and features the return of stars Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard, alongside a new cast of potential T-Rex food. Our guest today, Daniella Pineda, is one of the Jurassic new class, and she's playing paleo veterinarian, say that 3 times fast, Zia Rodriguez. We're going to talk with her about how you get a cool job like that, but first, here's a clip from Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
She's tracked. Okay, come on.
Are you okay?
I'm okay.
How many can you save?
11 species. Blue is the last of her kind.
You'll never capture her.
We thought you might know someone who could help.
A rescue op. What could go wrong? Hey, Blue. You know me. Come with me. You know you can't stay here. Pack your men up right now.
It was all a lie!
The man who proved raptors can follow orders. You never thought how many millions a trained predator might be once?
They're gonna sell them.
Not Blue. They need it for something else.
What is that thing? They made it.
This is the most dangerous creature that ever walked the earth.
I say we shut this whole thing down. Hey, girl. You think what I'm thinking?
Genetic power has now been unleashed.
You can't put it back in the box.
Blue! If I don't make it back, remember you're the one who made me come here. I'll be all right. These creatures were here before us.
And if we're not careful, they're gonna be here after. Welcome to Jurassic World.
Welcome, Daniella. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. How's everybody feeling today?
Yeah.
Woo!
There we go. Dinos. So obviously, like I was saying, it's the 25th anniversary of Jurassic Park this year, the original.
Sure is.
It's a movie that everyone remembers seeing for their first time.
Yes.
And so tell us about yours. When do you remember seeing Jurassic Park for the first time?
So even though I am 19, 17, 15 years old, I was about 11 or 10 when Jurassic Park came out. True story, it was the first VHS that I owned that didn't belong to my parents, it was mine. And I watched it so many times that it broke in my VCR. And if you don't know what a VCR is, it's an old contraption from the 1800s that the kids may not know about. But that was one of my favorite films, and there's a part of me that doesn't feel like it's a coincidence that I'm in this movie, because that first Spielberg film, it helped develop my cinematic taste. I feel like it's why I eventually found my way into the business.
Right. Do you still have that VHS tape, or is it? Did you even if it's the
Oh
the
no,
remains
that
of it?
mofo
No, you
is
buried
gone.
it.
Yeah,
I just imagine you having it sort of in a museum in your home somewhere.
that
It's
would
like,
be
this is
so
what
cool
you
if
said.
I did, but no, unfortunately not.
So what was your favorite scene, the one that you wore out the tape watching over and over again?
I think my favorite scene was the kitchen scene. I mean, it's between that and when the T-Rex breaks open the skylight of the car. But I think the kitchen, that really freaked me out.
Right.
Also, it was traumatizing to not see Samuel L. Jackson die, but to just see his arm, which I was told that there was a hurricane and he couldn't shoot his death scene, so that's what they came up with. And I was like, that was so much better.
Exactly, right? It's like the Jaws idea of like not seeing the body.
Yes,
and seeing the
so much
arm,
scarier.
Right? That's Steven Spielberg. He knows what he's doing, I think.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about, let's jump forward. And as you said, like it's appropriate that you're in Jurassic World now.
Yeah.
How did the audition come your way? What do you remember about getting to go out for it?
I remember when I got the audition, I wasn't even excited because I was like, I'm not getting this. So I was like, all right, I'll just put myself on tape. And I just didn't take it seriously. I mean, I always have fun, and I don't, I always try to do my best work. And I remember that first audition, I just tried to make it as funny as I could, because that's always that's such a big part of the franchise is the humor component. So, and then I forgot about it. And then I got a call, like, I don't know, maybe like a week later from my lawyer who was like, now you're getting a test offer. And I was like, what? And then when I found out I got the part was I had just moved to West Hollywood in an apartment that was infested with like cat-sized rats.
Oh my gosh.
And I tell people, not like little baby rats. I mean like rats that still had their Christmas weight.
Right.
So that call was pretty much the best thing that's ever happened to me. Things were not good at that time. So it's great.
Right, exactly. That helped a lot, sort of
Yeah.
giving you a boost of
It
confidence.
was a boost, to say the least.
So you said you wanted to make it funny. How did you? What example of how you made it funny? What would you sort of what spin did you put on it?
I think at the time I played her. I don't want to say sardonic, but she's the smartest person in the room at any given point. And so it's kind of like when people aren't moving fast enough, or when you're just like, that sort of relationship that she has with Franklin Webb.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I tried to find any moment where I could, or do something funny with my eyes, or something. That version of Zia is not what ended up happening on in the film, which I think is appropriate. But yeah, that was my take.
Yeah, that's always really interesting. Like what you see when you meet the character for the first time isn't always what people see in the finished product.
Yes,
so
completely.
How much of it did you bring to what we see in the finished product? Sort of like, were you able to put your own stamp on the character, and how is it different?
Yeah, I got a lot of creative control over this character. I mean, it's really scary because this is such a big movie, and there's such a massive legacy, and there's such a high expectation from fans. And then also someone like myself, this is like my first like mega movie. Right. So you want to be really, I was terrified because I wanted to do my best. And yet once I got there, I realized that everyone was so friendly. I got so much creative control. I got so much input, which you don't think you're going to on a movie like this. You think that everyone's already going to have the answer. I had to cut my own hair. J.A. Bayona made me cut my own hair.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he was like, the character would cut their own hair. You cut your hair. And I was like, what? I'm in front of an Oscar-winning hair and makeup department. Like, I'm going to cut my hair? And I did. And they cried. And then he left the trailer, and then they fixed it. Thank God, because I look crazy.
Right. They went in and did a little reconstruction.
Yeah. But I got a lot to say. It was very collaborative.
Yeah. Did you tell Bayona that that's what happened? They helped, or did you just say, "Oh no, I did this all myself"? Does he still believe you cut your hair yourself?
I don't think I mentioned it. I think me and the hair and makeup had a pact where it was like, we're going to keep that from J.A.
We'll make sure he doesn't hear about this.
Yeah.
We'll cut this part out when we talk to him. So in terms of Zia, she's obviously as I was saying, a paleo-veterinarian, which is a unique job name for sure.
Yes.
How in your head did you work out the idea of her becoming a paleo-veterinarian? How did one go to school for that?
Well, Colin Trevorrow and Derek Connolly came up with that. But we decided that she, had gone to school for medicine, and the track was, she was on the path to going to Jurassic World. Then the park shuts down because all hell ensued.
Right.
And now, visiting Isla Nublar now, this is her first opportunity to practice medicine on dinosaurs. So she had the opportunity taken from her, and now this is a new beginning.
Right, yeah, a chance for her to live out her dreams.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and she's one of the only ones in the entire world who does what she does.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Which
Again,
is
it's a
so
rarefied
cool.
job, I imagine.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we should say the film takes place, it picks up a few years after the original Jurassic World.
Yeah, about 3 or 4 years.
Right, exactly. And in that time, the dinosaurs are still on the island, but there's all this whole debate over what to do with them because they're still there. There's the volcano on the island's about to erupt. People are afraid what's going to happen to them. And your group, you work with Bryce Dallas Howard's character.
Right, we're part of the dinosaur protection group.
Exactly, kind of dinosaur activist group, which is interesting. The idea of let's protect these creatures. It's a really interesting idea, and certainly timely to this, where we see a lot of animal activism happening right now.
Yes, which that's one thing that I'm really proud of being a part of this movie, that they are causing people to think and reflect, and also you have a responsibility. We're leaving such a bad stamp on the environment. So I like the fact that people will walk away from this movie thinking about their own, carbon footprint or whatever the footprints are.
Well, in your own life, are you involved in any environmental causes or animal causes? Do you?
Yeah, I was. I'm sort of shopping around. I've been meeting with World Wildlife Fund. Actually, we're courting each other. But I'm still I am on the hunt, but I'm trying to find my right fit.
Okay. What's your passion animal, if you or spirit animal, I guess you'd say, if you had to pick one?
It's a good question. I'm going to go with a chubby baby triceratops. I respond very strongly to small chubby animals, even though that's not good, because your animal shouldn't be chubby. You should take them to the vet if they are.
Keep them healthy.
Keep them healthy, but I'm a sucker for a chubby animal. And I also love elephants.
Nice.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's certainly in the movie you get to spend a lot of time with Blue, which is Chris Pratt's sort of personal dinosaur in the first movie,
that's
and
his
here
baby.
it sort of passes to you because you have to care for her when she gets injured. What sort of advice did Chris give you in terms of how to work with Blue as a co-star?
Believe it or not, that wasn't where Chris kind of took me under his wing, because when it came to that scene, it was like I was the one who knew best. That was my domain. His domain was connecting to her, but when it come to actually helping her and having a relationship, and I spent more time with that animatronic than anyone else, which was the most realistic thing I've ever seen.
Right.
It was huge. I mean, the animatronic was from here to, I don't know, maybe the edge of that stage. It was huge. It had pulsing veins. I don't know how the hell they afforded this thing. It was crazy. If you touched it, the way a snake feels? It's kind of cold, and its skin felt like reptile skin.
Oh, wow.
If you flashed a light in its eye, the eyes would dilate. It sweat. It would tick. It had drool. It was crazy. It seemed like there was a real animal there, and there were about 12 puppeteers underneath her who were operating her. And what was so cool about that was, I'm not big on CGI. It's just not my preference.
Right.
But when it's used to enhance something, that's when I think it's appropriate. And then if possible, always use an animatronic.
Right.
Whether it's horror, suspense, animatronic, always. And that just made my life and my job as an actor so much easier, because we could work with each other in the moment. I could react to her and vice versa. I could work with the puppeteers. I'm going to come in. So, you first 3 guys, do your thing. So that was really cool.
Yeah, you could actually feel like you were actually being a paleo veterinarian in that moment.
Completely.
Not like a bag of salt or
It
something.
made all the difference.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Did you have any sort of tricks worked out with the puppeteers in terms of specific things that that you would say for the scene ahead of time? I'm going to do this, and you respond this way.
It's sort of like a dance. It's like you're rehearsing a dance, and it's all timing. And they can't see me, but they did. I'm going to take this bracelet off because it is annoying me. They have a monitor so they can see me, and they're also listening to me. So, we would practice with the animatronic a couple of times and get a flow before we, started shooting.
Right. Yeah.
I always love that too. I always like it when you find the flow and you know how it's going to work. It's really satisfying.
Yeah. When you get to go back to the island, Isla Nublar, where the original movie took place, I mean,
Yes.
were you able to see any of the original Jurassic Park sets that were still there?
Oh, yeah.
What was that like, sort of being?
Well, we're in Kailua Ranch, which is where they shot, and there's a Jurassic Park sign, which is pretty cool. But you know, the scenery is all. I mean, it's nature.
Right.
You know, and if you watch the original, or when I did, I would try to sort of pinpoint exactly like where in the ranch, you know, certain things were filmed. And going there, you have to see it in person. There's a reason why Spielberg picked that ranch, because the mountains, it doesn't look like it's on Earth. It looks like it's on another planet that hasn't been touched by human beings. It's so beautiful there.
And I imagine again, like just working with an animatronic, being out in the real wilderness like that.
Oh, it makes all the difference.
Yeah, right. Makes
yeah.
all the difference
I mean,
in that.
don't get me wrong though. The sets that they built at Pinewood were so unreal. They were. I've never seen sets like this before. Like, you know, the auction,
Right.
the auction scene.
Yeah.
That room was like they could have parked an airplane in it. It was huge, and there were like 200 extras. I just remember being there, and being like, "Wow, I've never seen sets that big in my life."
Right.
Crazy.
I remember on the original, on the first Jurassic World, Colin Trevorrow was really talked about how he let Jake Johnson, for example, sort of improv a lot.
By the way, Jake Johnson is people ask who my favorite character is. It's him.
Right, I love his whole story
He's
about the
so
father.
funny.
Right, exactly, and that was all improvised. So did you have a moment to sort of do any of that? Did you improvise any of your scenes?
Yeah, we did. A lot of the stuff that we improvised, though, for my character didn't make it. Some of Franklin's made it, and some of Chris's. But this movie, I find it moves faster than the first one. So originally, I think that like the cut was like 2 hours and 40 minutes, and they were like, we can't. This is too long. So they had to cut it down. So a lot of some of the comedy stuff, you know, the comedy beats, I think got cut. But that said, like the film is awesome because the action starts quick and it doesn't get boring. And that second act really picks up too. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, can you give us a tease of like an example of a comedy beat that was cut, like a scene that maybe we'll see?
Yeah, there was a scene that I really, really loved, and you know, I understood why they cut it for sake of time, but it's me and Chris Pratt, and we're in the we're in like a military vehicle with all of these mercenaries, and it's kind of quiet, and everyone's just kind of waiting. And I look at Chris, and I'm like, yeah, square jaw, good bone structure, tall, muscles. I don't date men, but if I did, it would be you. It would gross me out, but I'd do it. Because I love that I'm looking at Chris Pratt, like the hottest guy in the world. I'm just like, it would gross me out, but I guess I would do it.
Right.
And also that was cool because it was a little insight into my character. But they got it.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, we don't hear about Zia's sort of romantic
Backstory.
interest. So, yeah,
I mean, it's not relevant to the story,
Right,
but it was
right.
a little glimmer into, you know, who she is.
Was that something that you worked out, or that they sort of wrote in originally, the idea that she dated women? Or
That's a really good question. I think that was always the assumption, and I think that was J.A. and Colin. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that something that if you return for the next one, do you hope that gets developed, that we see that?
I do.
Yeah. That'd be
Because
great.
I'd like to see more of that.
Right,
Especially
absolutely.
in big-ass movies. Yeah.
It reminds me of like Thor Ragnarok, where we sort of heard that Tessa Thompson's character was bisexual, but it wasn't.
Right.
It was sort of teased in there.
Right.
Yeah,
it was
it'd be great
alluded
be more
to. Yeah, it'd be nice if it was just out
Here
there.
you go. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about that second half of the movie. Really is more a lot like a horror film. You move to sort of
Yeah,
like
it's very
a
gothic
Victorian
and
mansion, and there are
mystique
like there's secret passages and dumbwaiters. And all that
Yeah,
stuff.
but if you pay attention, because I've seen it now twice, if you pay attention, there are so many Spielberg motifs and throwbacks. Like I don't know if people caught when Maisie like pulls that down. That's the kitchen scene.
Right.
Red sweater, little kid in a red sweater. That's a very classic Spielberg motif. They're just little touches of things. But that second act, you know, I think that there's no coincidence as to why Spielberg picked J.A. Bayona, because he entrusted J.A. with continuing the legacy but beginning to pivot it in a different direction. And yeah, that was just that second act of the movie is just, it's very different for Jurassic, but it's and I'm a very big horror movie buff, so I was super excited to to see it go that way, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, well, video recommendation for the audience and for those at home. I mean, Jay Bayona made The Orphanage, which is a really
love
great,
that movie.
2007 horror movie. That also takes place in a mansion, has ghosts and everything involved. So that's a great one.
That's a specialty. Yeah.
And watching that second half, I was definitely like, oh yeah, this is like Orphanage with dinosaurs.
Yeah.
This is perfect. Well, what you're a horror buff. What are some of your favorite horror movies? What would you say?
I mean, see, I had a very different kind of childhood while other kids were watching. I watch all the Disney movies too, but I also watch like Nightmare on Elm Street. I watch all the Freddy Kruegers, which, by the way, if you have kids, let your kids watch those movies. Everyone's like, oh, I can never have my kid watch that. They'll have nightmares. Your kid's going to have nightmares anyway.
Right.
Life's crazy. So just show them the freaking horror movies. I love Nightmare on Elm Street. I loved Freddy Krueger. I also liked watching Freddy Krueger's journey from being super scary and then sort of morphing and turning into this like goofball. I mean, a sociopathic goofball.
Yeah,
but
exactly. But funny. So.
Yeah. I loved Hellraiser for all of the makeup and costume and practical effects.
Right.
It's the same reason why I also love Nightmare on Elm Street. But Shining's the best movie ever.
Yeah.
The best movie ever. So, have you seen Ready Player One?
I have, and yes.
Did you see that Shining?
The Shining,
So
that whole sequence. Yeah. Terrific Shining. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, if you could remake a horror movie and star in it, would it be a new Nightmare? What horror movie would you most want to remake? Would you most want to star in if you could?
If I could remake any horror movie, I think it would be down to two. And the name of the second one is escaping me. There's so many. Okay, I'm going to go through three, and I am actually forgetting the title of the first two, but one of them is The Bad Seed.
Oh, yeah.
I love The Bad Seed.
That's a great one.
That's so good, and the acting in that was like spectacular. The second one is, I forget what the name of it is, but it's basically, I love all the social commentary that horror can get away with, and it's there's a graveyard of enslaved African Americans, and they come back to life, and they seek revenge. It's a black and white film, and I forget what the name of it is. It's escaping me.
Okay.
And then there's another one, which is commentary on like the bourgeois and plutocrats, where this guy's in a rich, wealthy neighborhood, and he finds out that all of the rich people are actually like eating. Like they're taking outsiders and eating them.
Right.
That's why I love horror movies. I just love that all the socio-political commentary of the day. It's like why I love Night of the Living Dead. The ending of Night of the Living Dead was so just ahead of its time.
Right.
Which is funny because so many people are like, oh, I hate horror movies. And it's like there's so much more progressive and with it. Thank God for Jordan Peele because he was able to garner more people to appreciate the genre.
With Get Out and show that side.
Yes.
How can be both scary and also really relevant to what's happening.
Completely.
Exactly. That's what the best horror movies do. Now, we won't reveal Zia's fate in the movie, but was part of you hoping for, when you originally thought for a big grand dino death? And if you were to have a dino death, how would you most want to die? What would your dream dino death be?
Oh, I mean, that's a tough one. I loved the way... I always forget whether he's Aussie or Kiwi. He's Aussie in the first one when he's in the two raptors.
Yes, yeah, right.
I mean, I think I just something with two raptors. I don't want to be gobbled up with a T-Rex. That's just quick and swift.
Right.
I want to be hunted.
Yeah, you don't want to have like the porta potty just ripped off and picked up in the mouth.
Even though that's
exactly.
great.
You need to run.
Yeah. But there is a death. Oh man, there's a death scene in this movie that I won't spoil. But I think you know the one I'm talking about.
Oh yeah,
it's so good.
Would you try and be in set for days like that so you could watch how they actually did that?
I wasn't there for that one. I wanted to be, also because he's my favorite. But I came for the gyrosphere. I had to come for the gyrosphere. They built a roller coaster. They built a roller coaster.
Right. This is what you can do on their end.
It's the craziest budget ever. Yeah, so they built a roller coaster for Bryce, and I was so pissed off. Justice would take pictures and videos of like, this is what I'm doing, and I would be like, he got all the coolest stunts.
But what was your coolest scene? What scene did you brag about to him when you got to do something?
I mean, all my blue scene. Yeah,
right.
Was the coolest. Yeah.
So if Zia returns, what do you hope that her next big action? What didn't you get to do on this movie that you'd love to see her do in the next one?
I mean, I would love to, I think my character's more the brains and Franklin Webb is the audience, right? He's you in this crazy world reacting to this crazy stuff. I would love for my character, put me in a gyrosphere. Put me in a gyrosphere that goes off a cliff. I want to do that. So I'd like that.
They'll have to rebuild it somewhere because, as they say, the park is
Oh,
gone.
they
and
will.
all the ads. They'll
They
find a
will.
way.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the audience, we've got some questions from them. Let's turn it over to you guys.
Woo!
Hi, this question's from an online viewer.
Okay.
So Emily would like to know, which dinosaur breed do you think would match your personality?
Well, I'm going to have to revert back to the baby chubby Triceratops. Jurassic World. Remember there was that segment where like the little kids were like in the petting zoo?
Oh, you're right.
And there was a chubby baby Triceratops that was so freaking cute. And I was like, I like that one.
That's the one.
So I want to be that one.
Good distance. Another question. There we go.
Hi. So you've talked about a couple character deaths from the Jurassic movies
Yeah.
that have really stuck with you. Are there any from previous movies that you like just can never forget about?
Or I can't get out of my head. Previous deaths. I mean, the one that I was like really surprised by was in Jurassic World, the woman who was taking care of them, who like didn't do anything wrong. She was just like trying to keep track of these like boys who weren't going to listen to her. And it was like, I was like, oh man, that chick's having a hard day. And then all of a sudden she's like, that was so violent and messed up. I was like, whoa, I can't believe they did that. That definitely stuck with me. Yeah.
Awesome.
Hello.
Hi.
If Jurassic World was real, what role do you think you would be? Like, what character do you think you would be in real life?
Oh, that's a good question. What would I be? I think I would work in that wherever the nicest, slowest dinosaurs are, like that petting zoo. I would probably do that with like the kids. Like you're never gonna see me around the dangerous stuff. And FYI, Daniella in real life, if I went there, I would die in 2 seconds. Yeah, we're very
Right.
different, me and Zia, in that way.
Even the chubby dinosaurs would get you, you're saying. Like,
Probably.
Yeah, they'd
I'd
find
probably
a way to
slip
get
and it
you.
would impale me accidentally. So, yeah. Why I don't work with animals.
There we go. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
See Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom in theaters next Friday, June 22nd. Thanks to Daniella Pineda.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.